Hello everyone, welcome to my station 20 at 70. My name's Trace Perot. Today's date is the 10th of February. This is video number 11, which is about the 14th video I've put up. This station is about how to be 20 at 70, primarily due to a lifestyle that's plant-based, vegan, low-fat, raw vegan. My experience has been 31 years with plant-based food consumption, and 30 years as a vegan. First 15 was a high-fat, raw vegan. The last 15 years has been as a low-fat, raw vegan. So 30 years total as a raw vegan. And I'm doing this channel because I want to share my experience with people who are dealing with the same diet, interested in that lifestyle, transitioning to vegetarian or vegan or raw vegan lifestyle. So hopefully you can profit from my mistakes and my successes. Anyways, today's topic, which I will get to eventually, is about vitamin B12 and omega-3s, both rather controversial supplements, if you want to call them that. I will get to that as soon as I've run over a few things here. So, the first thing I want to talk about is what I learned about food this week. I'm always trying to learn about food, so I've just chosen to do one subject, about food every week. So this week I was watching a video, a long video, as a 2-hour interview with Dr. Doug Graham. And, I always had a sort of a question in my mind because I read his book, Grain Damage. And at the time that I read it, it didn't really give me some really substantial reasons for why raw was better than cooked, okay? I originally got into to raw because of that whole aura about the living food and the enzymes not being damaged by cooking and the nutrient value being much higher if you consume raw food or food raw. And but beyond that, I wanted to know what it was that was so great about raw food as opposed to cooked food. And in this interview, this video interview with Dr. Graham, he's being interviewed by Chef AJ, right, who is a cooked vegan. The interview is quite extensive. It's 2 hours long. I'll put a link to that interview in the description of this video. But there's a section in there. Primarily, it's right at, I believe, 44 seconds. I'll have to check that. I believe, or 44 minutes into the video. And Dr. Graham talks about white blood cell count. And this is a very interesting subject. What he puts forth is that the normal white blood, and I'll try to, do a synopsis because I certainly can't explain it as good as he can. I don't have a PhD in, chiropractic, and all that kind of stuff. What it amounts to is that there's something called a white blood cell count in your body. White blood cells are produced by your bone marrow, in your bone marrow, and their primary job is to deal with infections, okay? Also, including parasitic infections. So these are white blood cells that are marshaled up to help you, get over and get beyond infections of various kinds. Viral infections, I assume probably just things like staph as well. They come up. So, but the normal, sorry about the pen. I'm getting rid of it right now. Bad habit. Apparently the normal white blood cell count is about 3 million in a human being. And when an infection comes on, or some such thing that's threatening the human body, the white blood cell count can jump up to as high as 18 million. Okay, and then it goes back down, right, once the infection is dealt with, or whatever problem it is that the white blood cells are attacking. So in Dr. Graham's research, he has discovered that, and this is apparently general knowledge in the research, medical research community, health, research community, that when you eat cooked food, your white blood cell count jumps up to like 15 million from 3 million. So the implication is that, cooked food is something that the body has to deal with as some kind of invader, okay? And as he notes in the interview, this is considered normal by the medical research community primarily because everybody eats cooked food. So if everybody eats cooked food and that's considered normal, then an elevation in the white blood cell count of some 12, 13, 14 million white blood cells, an increase in those white blood cells. This is now this is considered to be normal, So obviously it isn't, because white blood cells are, like I said, they're rallied to deal with infection and problems in the body, and the fact is that when you eat raw food, that does not happen. Okay, there's no marshaling of the white blood cells. There's no increase of the white blood cell count when you eat raw food. So, I encourage everybody to watch this video. He doesn't actually get into what the consequences of that are, okay? If you're elevating your white blood cell count 3 times a day by eating cooked food, that's a significant increase, as opposed to just marshaling those white blood cells, producing more of these white blood cells to deal with infection, which may not happen, who knows, once, twice a month at the very most, or maybe even not that, And so people eating cooked food are doing this. They're stimulating this white blood cell production. And they're doing it 3 times a day if they're eating cooked food 3 times a day. So there has to be some consequences there. And I specifically don't know what those consequences are. Would require quite a bit of research, but we must assume that there are some serious consequences from that blood cell count, that white blood cell count going up like that. And unfortunately, Doug does not get into that. He doesn't elucidate it. He goes on to another subject. So I just wanted to make that point about that. That's what I learned about food, and that's a very significant little bit of knowledge. And if you are a vegetarian eating cooked food, or if you're cooked vegan, or you're transitioning to an 80-10-10 diet and you're still eating cooked food, this should be a motivation for you. I mean, it certainly is a motivation for me, or for me to continue to maintain this lifestyle. So yeah, I just wanted to make that point. And so the second thing I'm going to do is get into the diet squeeze. So the diet squeeze is something I do every video. It's all about squeezing the garbage out of your diet and transitioning into a low-fat, raw vegan diet. Or at least, some facsimile of that, or as far as you can go at this point in your life. So, what I do, I'm not giving nutritional advice here, so I'm going to bring it home and say what I do is I hit the citrus first thing when I get up in the morning. I wait the 20 minutes to a half an hour. Then I go after high-density sweet fruit, which is bananas, jackfruit, champadak, papayas, aki, the list goes on and on. durian. And I go after that high density sweet fruit, usually in the form of a banana-based smoothie, but it can be some other kind of smoothie as well. But it's always got high-density sweet fruit, and it has a very significant quantity of it, because that is where your calories come from. That is where you're going to get your energy. Okay. So, and I combine that with greens. I always combine that with greens. There's a significant difference in the way that you react to sweet fruit if it's not combined with greens. And I've noticed that if you don't have any greens or you don't combine them with greens, well, the sweet fruit's going to get the job done. It just may not be as easy or as pleasant as it will do the job with the greens, accompanying that sweet fruit. So the third thing was to go to subacid fruit. So at the time that you eat your sweet fruit, you have to make a decision, okay? When do I want to eat, again, some kind of concentrated food, some kind of food with fat in it, either nuts or seeds or animal products, or some kind of grain, cooked grain if you're still doing that. So when in the day do you actually want to do that, okay? So most people do that, they do it for breakfast, but if we're doing the diet squeeze, then it's pushed off to lunch, okay? So you want to make that decision. If it's going to be noon, then you need to knock the sweet fruit off by 9 a.m., okay? Because it takes a minimum of 3 hours, much better 4 hours for that sweet fruit to clear out of your stomach, all right? And any kind of concentrated food, nuts, seeds, avocados, whole grain, cooked grains, animal products, cheese, dairy, meat, fish, all of that stuff does not mix with sweet fruit. Okay, it's a very bad combination. So you want to get the sweet fruit out of your system before you go into that lunch or that next meal. So for me, I know what my decision is. I'm going to eat that sweet fruit, and I'm going to eat it right up until 2 o'clock, right through lunch, and I'm going to snack in between with subacid fruit. And I'll be eating that sweet fruit right up until about 2 o'clock on a very consistent basis. If you're going to have lunch, you want to cut it off at 9 o'clock. And then if you want a snack, if you're hungry, you need to go to the subacid fruit. And what I want to add on to that is you need to, if you're going to snack on subacid fruit, the other things that you can snack on that are very satisfying, very filling, are raw spinach, raw asparagus, and raw celery, all three of which are incredibly delicious, okay? And as you become more raw, as you eat more food and you start to enjoy the natural flavors of this food, things like spinach are going to taste like candy. I mean, spinach tastes like candy to me. It's absolutely out of this world. Asparagus is stunning. I mean, there's no other word for it. Raw asparagus, organic raw asparagus, is stunning. Little pricey, but still, nonetheless, worth every penny of it. And celery, of course, is a mainstay, and celery just always tastes good to me. I mean, it's just a great flavor, especially if you get the fully developed celery. A lot of times the scrawny celery that's real thin and kind of textural can be kind of bitter, almost impossible to eat. So if you get that full, nice big pieces of celery, I crack them in half and I eat them. That celery tastes really good. So, I snack on sweet fruit, snack on subacid fruit, even if I'm continuing to eat sweet fruit through the day until 2 o'clock. So that's where we are with the diet squeeze. I won't go any further with that. If you can make it till noon on just fruit, you are, you've hit a major landmark. If you can do that consistently, and like I said before, that smoothie with those 8 Cavendish bananas or whatever it is going to fill you up. It may not fill you up so that you can go a whole 3 or 4 hours without eating, and that's why you want to snack on subacid fruit. If you're going to cut off at noon, and have a lunch that has something like vegetables or nuts, seeds, avocados, or blah, blah, blah. So the next thing I want to do here is I want to do a little lifestyle blip. I'm not sure what the purpose of this is, except for possibly elucidating what kind of lifestyle that I lead, that I'm allowed to leave by being a low-fat raw vegan, okay? And it has to be vastly different than what I'd be doing if I was in a standard, eating a standard, if I'd been eating a standard American diet for the last 30 years. Number one, at 70, with the energy problems I had when I first started with vegetarianism 31 years ago, I no doubt would be in a rest home right now. There's no doubt about it. I'd be, drugged up on pharmaceuticals. I wouldn't have any energy. I'd be an old person, bent over, blah, blah, blah. And so I wanted to just go through a blip of my lifestyle just as an illustration. All right. So I'll start with Sunday. It's the first day of the week, right? So last Sunday, I was up at 6:30. I rode my bike 4 miles, 2 miles back and forth. I went out to get bananas because I had to come back to work at 8 a.m., start working, so I wasn't going to be able to go shopping. So I went out. I had already bought a bunch of food, but I needed bananas because I didn't want to carry them across the island on the bus and on my bike because they're so heavy. So I went out and bought the bananas, came back, started work at 8 o'clock, and did a double shift of 16 hours. Okay. During that shift, of course, I had at least 4 or 5 half smoothies made in a bullet with bananas and one of my favorite mixtures. I mixed the bananas with water, purified water, and beet greens. Okay. Beet greens are so good. They're so sweet. They have a very unique flavor. And they turn the smoothie to this incredible rich red color that just basically makes you want to drink it just by looking at it. Okay, so I did that all day Sunday because I found a store, actually it was Safeway of all places, that sold beets with the greens still attached. Okay, so I went, the night before I'd gone and bought some beets with the greens still attached. So I had plenty of beet greens and I ate them all weekend. So anyways, and then, I went through the routine of doing the sweet fruit, cutting it off, eating subacid, making my salad. I had a huge, big salad. And I'm going to say right now that I probably have as my main course a huge, big salad 300 out of the 365 days a year. Okay, so I eat a lot of I'm on the same routine consecutively for many days in a row. I may get a variety of fruit. I try to get as much variety of fruit as I can, so I get different portions of different minerals, and a variety of vegetables, and so that gives me a lot of variety in the diet. But basically, it's that, I'm totally satisfied with just eating a big, huge salad at the end of the day. And the major constituents of that salad are usually, some kind of lettuce, almost always some kind of cruciferous vegetable, or, cabbage, almost always red or green cabbage. Then I shred beets. I always have beets on hand, and I shred them into the salad because they sweeten it up tremendously. Okay, I always have tomatoes. I always have red and yellow peppers, and the greens of green onions. Okay, those are my basic ingredients. Sometimes I'll add other things in. And then invariably for my dressing, I'm either going to have an avocado mashed up and mixed with lime juice, or I'm going to have raw tahini out of a jar, organic raw tahini, 1 tablespoon, 1.5 tablespoons. I mix it with lime juice, okay, and I put some water in there, and then I cut up cucumbers and different kinds of mushrooms, and I dip them in that salad dressing, that tahini dip. And then I pour the salad dressing on the salad, mix it in, and I eat it with the salad, okay? And I also put 2 tablespoons of ground flaxseed in that salad, which is very, very good, very flavorful. It makes all the difference in the world in that salad. And it's also the highest source of omega-3s on the planet, okay? And I'm going to get into that later as the main topic. So anyways, that's the diet. Okay, so we know what I'm eating, right? So I work my 16 hours. I get off at midnight. I get to bed. I get to sleep by 1 a.m. I get up at 4:30 a.m. I ride my bike to the bus stop. And then I take a 3-hour bus ride back over to the east side of the island. I hang out in Hilo for an hour waiting for the next bus, in which case I go and shop at some places that I know for produce and whatnot. Then I get on a bus, I go another 15 miles down the road, I jump off the bus, I go to another market, roadside market where I know they sell organic bananas, and I load up on a bunch of bananas because I haven't eaten, okay? I don't eat on Monday morning when I come back across the bus. And, on the bus, I just hold off and I wait till I get to this roadside stand. So I ride my bike down there, it's right near the bus stop, and then I ride my bike to rehearsal, okay? And then I do a rehearsal for 4.5 hours, all right? And, in between songs, at the breaks, I'm eating my bananas, and everybody knows about me in the band. There's the female singer, keyboard player, is a vegetarian, but we haven't ever really discussed food, and we haven't really talked about it. But everybody else is standard American diet. So then at the end of the rehearsal, I get a ride into Pahoa. I do some more shopping because it's basically the first day of the week. And then I ride my bike 8.8 miles back home. Okay. So that's what my Monday looks like. And I'm usually a little bit tired after I eat. When I get home, I'm fine. Then I eat. It takes a little bit of my energy away, and I go, I go to sleep fairly early on Monday night because the night before I only had 4.5 hours of sleep. So, and I'm not tired at all during the day on Monday. But I do like to catch up, so I get a full 8 hours of sleep on Monday night. Tuesday, I get up, I kind of take it easy, I do some yoga, then I go for, this last Tuesday, I went for about a 5-mile walk, an exercise walk using weights, okay, and I'll discuss that in another video, but it's an extremely good way to get your cardio in. So I walk down the Jungle Road, the Red Road, and about 2.5 miles each way, and I come back. It takes about an hour, and then I'll do some yoga, and then I'll start in on some guitar practice, some singing practice, because Tuesday night I always have a gig that I go to that I play at. So at 3:30 in the afternoon, I get on my bike, I ride up to the bus stop, which is 2 miles from here. I get on a bus, I go into Pahoa, I do the gig, and then like 10, 11 o'clock at night, I ride all the way back home. Okay, so it's about 9.5 miles at about 11 o'clock at night. Okay, I get home usually by 11 p.m. I stay up for another hour. I go to sleep. Actually, this Tuesday I went to sleep. I was in bed by midnight. Okay. Then Wednesday. So I got up Wednesday about 6:30, 7 o'clock. And keep in mind, I'm eating just exactly the way I ate on Sunday. I'm eating all the sweet fruit, the subacid fruit, the asparagus, the celery. I'm doing all that kind of stuff. Smoothies, full of energy, going all day long. So, what did I do on Wednesday? Wednesday I had another rehearsal. So I had to prepare for that rehearsal. So when I got up, I didn't exercise because I'd done that 5 miles a day before. And what I did was some yoga, some lower back therapy that I do, and then I had to go over the music for the rehearsal. So I went over the music for rehearsal. Once again, I got on my bike and I went to the bus stop 2 miles away and got on a bus and managed to make a transfer and take a bus all the way to the rehearsal spot, same rehearsal, different band, same spot, some of the same personnel. And I did another 4.5, 5 hour rehearsal. This time I had to jump on the bus, so I had to ride about 2 miles to a bus stop and jump on a bus back to Pahoa, did a little bit more shopping for some stuff I need, came back home, on the 9.5 mile bike ride, and I was back Wednesday night. I was tired at that point, so I went to bed actually about 8 o'clock, and I woke up this morning. Today's Thursday. I woke up this morning at 3:30, and I did some yoga. What else did I do? I watched a couple of videos, and then I went to work on the property, on the farm, at 7:30 a.m. and I worked for 5 hours. Farm labor. So good, hard work. I mean, I love it, right? I'm not sure if I want to do it every day. I've done that kind of thing, and it can get taxing by the end of the week. But it's always good to get out in the fresh air, do some good, hard work in the sunshine, take care of the land, nurture the land. And so I was done with that about 12. Well, I was done about 1 o'clock. And then I kicked back. I had eaten my last smoothie at 12, so I was going to take an early dinner, which I did around 4. So that was 4 hours I waited. And so on and so forth. So that brought me up to where I am right now, doing this video. So hopefully that'll give you some idea of the kind of energy output that my lifestyle right now requires and allows me to do, and I feel good doing it. Okay, so by the end of the week I will have ridden my bike about 50 miles. So by Sunday night or Saturday night, I will have ridden my bike about 50 miles. And so far, I have spent $134 on food this week. Okay, food is expensive, but what I say is you can spend it at the market or you can spend it at the doctor. Okay, so if you're on a low-fat raw vegan diet, and your food bill used to be $75, a week, right? And now it's $130 or $150. Mine will probably this week will probably be as high as $160 once I get on the bus, go to Kona, and I have to buy some more food. So, it's a small price to pay for the amount of energy you put out, and the support that this diet will give you in your life's goals. If you have a career, if you have things that you want to accomplish, the low-fat raw vegan lifestyle is going to be a tremendous boon to your ability to do that. And the fact is that you won't have to suffer the consequences of having to drink 3 cups of coffee because you're eating a standard American diet, or having to take pharmaceuticals, or having to, take actual drugs, right? Because a lot of people, especially in the music industry, right? These people are drugging up all the time because they're going on tour and they got these horrendous schedules. A great example of that, I happen to be working on a Tom Petty project right now. And Tom Petty is a great example of what happens to people in the music industry. Dead at 66, addicted to all these pharmaceutical drugs that included fentanyl and Oxycontin, right? Hip fracture, right, which is a characteristic of lack of the proper nutrients in your body, especially omega-3s, right? So he had a hip fracture right before his last tour. oddly enough, he was smart enough. Of course, he's a Libra, so he's got some brains, right? Or he had some brains. At the age of 63, he became a vegetarian. But his thoughts on that were that, well, I know a vegan. This is what he says. I know a vegan, but I'm not willing to go that far, right? So at the age of 63, he becomes a vegetarian. Who knows if it was a healthy vegetarian? I suspect that it was, there was a lot of processed food in there and everything, but he gave up eating meat. But, for him, it was a little too late, okay? So, I much prefer the idea of getting it right with the health first before you expend all of your energy on your career goals and you're trying to accomplish things, okay? Dead, Tom Petty dead at 66. I mean, I'm 70, all right? And I'm working on a Tom Petty project. I'm learning all his material, right? And I'm 4 years, I'm almost 70, so I'm 3.5 years older than he was when he died, right? And I'm just starting to learn his material, right? So we'll probably be playing it for the next 5 years, right? Sadly, Tom Petty could have been playing his own material till he was 80 or 90. Who knows, if he would have had the nutritional knowledge required to maintain a natural, healthy lifestyle. So there's so many cases of that out there that it's ridiculous. But Tom Petty is a great example of that. Somebody who would, was very wealthy and could do exactly what he wanted and had to pass away at the age of 66. So anyways, that's my lifestyle blip. Really appreciate the likes and the views and the comments. They're helping me to become a more effective presenter, to get the message out to more people. So I really appreciate that. And if you do like, please hit that like button and subscribe. Just wanted to express my gratitude for that. I know I watch a lot of videos, and if I get something out of them, I forget to like them, So a lot of times I'll have to backtrack, pull up the video again and do a like, because, that's the least we can do for a presenter who's giving us information that we can use. So, if you're listening and you're hearing a lot of noise, those are coqui frogs. So here in Hawaii, especially on the Big Island, we've been invaded by coqui frogs for many years now. So they start going off at night, and since I did this video at dusk and it's now night, they're going off full on. So hopefully that's not bothersome to you. We consider it to be kind of like a symphony. You're kind of listening to a symphony of coqui frogs. So it's primarily their mating calls, and they go on most of the night. About 2 o'clock in the morning they stop. So hopefully that won't bother you when you're watching this video. Thanks.